Hello everyone, welcome to our channel The Planner's Way. Myself Rohit. Today I am going to cover the topic called project planning, what exactly it deals with. What the project planning is, it is the second stage of the project life cycle where we wants to know about how the project is going to be approached to that of the execution phase before the phase commences. Going forward, let's dive into the well-structured definition, what it deals with. The project planning is a structured approach of defining how a project will be executed and controlled. It creates a roadmap for achieving the project goals through the key components like scope, defining, then schedule, cost, and the resource planning things. It provides solid guidelines and clarify the objectives, how we are doing of the project, how we will approach toward our rest of the phases, which will be the execution, monitoring and control, and up and down the road to the closure. And it will minimize the anticipated risk or the uncertainty which always there on the project before that of the further future phases. Project plan basically deals with the following key components. We need to define a clear scope before commencing a project. First, it starts with the defining of the scope on the basis of different workshops that we deal with our stakeholders and taking their inputs. We define the overall scope of the project. We make sure there is no scope creep in the plan before executing the future phases. And second component is the schedule. The third one, which is the cost aspect, where we define the overall budget of the project, at what cost we are going to achieve that scope. And the fourth one are the resources, what type of resources we are going to use there, likewise man, machine, and that of the equipment that we are going to use, or any sort of material. If there is any long lead item, those sort of things need to be introduced on the schedule while commencing the plan. And the last one is the risk. The moreover we dig in further, we minimize it. In a project, it obvious there will be a risk, but we want it to be in our control before that of the execution phase. Let us demonstrate, taking one example, how we develop a plan in terms of construction project and IT project. What it does is basically the construction project follows the traditional life cycle, which is we first define the whole scope, try to finalize the scope at the beginning before commencing anything, and try we for that we introduce different workshop with our stakeholder and try to finalize their priorities, what they are, and try to finalize each and every scope at the beginning of the project, then lock that in one schedule and identify the whole critical path, whole duration, how much it will take, what the resources will be at the beginning of the project, which is the traditional type of life cycle which follows in the construction project. And the secondly is that of the IT project, which basically follow the agile life cycle, where we define the deliverables and the dependencies of the deliverables, what they are, try to finalize there, and decide a particular timeline to do that. And once the timeline we have secured, on that timeline we define the sprints. What the sprints deal with is it have the sprint are the iterative cycles of a defined timeline where we try to achieve those deliverable. If something if we can't achieve on that timeline, we introduce those rest of the scope in the next sprint and carry it forward. And it we do it in iterative process. Likewise, if you take an example of app building, what we do there is we try to build an app, we launch it, and again we want to make it better in the future. It will be the updated version that come across, so we do it in the iterative life cycle. And most of the places nowadays in the construction as well, we are using a kind of hybrid life cycle where we want the mixer of both. We want the flavor of traditional life cycle where we baseline the schedule, do everything, and we want a flavor of IT things as well, that of the agile type, which a new approach is called the hybrid life cycle. Both of these approach, the common is that of the communication, where we need to take the regular updates and be in touch of our stakeholder or the project manager, or that of the sometime it is the STM, which is the senior delivery manager. We need to be in contact with them and try to take the regular updates and monitoring how the things are working on progress to track, and it could try and communicate across the high stakeholder and the team members. What's the benefit of making a plan in the beginning of the project or that of the execution phase? We try to finalize our plan, how we go with the approach, how we uh, go down the road for the project to commence it before that of the actual execution begins. We want it to on our hand logged somewhere called the baseline schedule. The benefit of doing that is it will provide the clarity and sense of direction in which we need to go. It will identify the early risks or the uncertainties that are in the project and the dependencies, if there are anything, the long lead item we need to order previously, those sort of things we know from that plan. It enables tracking and control, which is we can track up the project. It helps us to track and monitor and control where we are. Okay, let's suppose if we need to do a project in 6 months, if we track it on the 3 month, the 50% of the work need to be done. But if it in reality, if it's just 40% done, then we are behind schedule. We know from that aspect. We we track it, we are behind. Now we need to control it. What are the mitigating methods to be within the schedule? For that, either we need to increase up the resources, or we need to new resources to do the task and accelerate the schedule, or we need to change some logic links. Okay, we need to do some items simultaneously to be in the control of that schedule. Fourth one is it aligns all the team toward one common goal, one common objectives, and is support on the informed decision making as well. If we know we are behind the schedule, then it will be easier for the higher stakeholder to deal with. As they know we are behind the schedule, they will think about the mitigating measures, how we can be within the schedule. Everyone wants to be within we wants to be within the schedule, but for that we need to know first where we are. For that we need to track up the schedule, and it will support us on the decision making to the higher stakeholders. To wrap up this video, I have tried to cover everything regarding the project planning, and there will be upcoming videos as well. We are making a series of videos which will lead us toward what the project planning is, what the approach is, what are the key terminologies that we use on the project planning. So if you want to hear more from us, our next upcoming series is on the project management triangle, which is also called the iron triangle, which is the impact of scope, schedule, and cost in one another. We try to describe that over there. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to hear more insight from us, please subscribe the Planners Way. I'll see you on the next video.